Welcome guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm just starting king and pawn in games. So here today I'm gonna add up with another chapter of king and pawn in games. Like I'm just going with king and two healthy pawns versus lone king. So last time we had covered up queen versus pawn on 6th and 7th rank, and with some Louisiana positions and Philidor positions. So I'm just planning to study king and two healthy pawns versus lone king today. Let's see how it can just go and just add up some kind of knowledge to king and pawn in games. There's lots of topics. Uh, the pawn and king and pawn in games. So let's pick up one today. King and two healthy pawns. So let's study together with me and about king and pawn in games. At this point, we have a wealth of knowledge about king and pawn in games. So as we know the importance of using our king, all forms of opposition. So let's study king and pawn in game with king and two healthy pawns versus lone king. So let's see. So let's start our position here. Let's start up a position here. Okay, so how is here the board? Oh, the board has gone out. Okay, now it's in the center. So where is my board gone? Where is it? Where is the board gone? Okay, it's over here. So let's just start a position. I'm clearing the board and adding up some position here. So I'm just planning to study it with the king on the corner of the position of the board at a8 and king in the center, like in the d5 square, and two pawns of white very close to black king. So I'm studying today this position. So two healthy pawns are very close to black king. White king is very far, so two connected passed pawns. Yep. So let's see what this topic is all about today. So this topic is all about two connected passed pawns, and can they defend themselves against a lone king? King is alone here, and two passed pawns. Can it defend from this black king in the center, very close to these two pawns? So can they march and become the queen here? So this is the main topic today. Let's check out this position. So the white king is not participating in the story at all because it is very far away from the action, and he's nothing to worry about since connected pawns always, let's see, can defend themselves. The book says they can defend themselves. So let's check it out. How can they defend if, like, king comes to, let's see, attacking this pawn? Because right now, maybe not down, because, oh sorry, I just saw them, because down, because this is a file. Sorry to all, the pawns are not coming down but they are moving up. So sorry for the direction down below showing. So they must go up. because white pawns just goes to 8th rank to make the queen, so it's simple. So that's my mistake. I thought uh, they were coming from the 8th file, and they are not. So let's check. So in order to stop them, white king is just white pawns are marching ahead. So black king comes over here, and what happens is that so in the next move, if we just promote or advance the pawn, then this king will just takes on the pawn, and by the time this king can arrive into the center, this king can still takes on this pawn, and the game is drawn. So there is now any progress for white. So I'm just thinking about how these pawns can simply promote to the queen. So it's a whole story behind is, so our last move by black was king e4. So any movement by like white is white pawns is very not good for white, because we just saw it. So let's move the king, because after king movement, if king takes the pawn on e3, which is very weak and undefended, then the pawn will start to advance, and there is like king cannot stop it from promoting into queen. So the king cannot take on e3, I guess. Yeah, king cannot take on e3. So this is quite interesting, isn't it? So because e3 pawn is alone and unguarded. I mean, not alone, but it is very weak and undefended. But also here, the story is very different. So king cannot take it. Though king has a lot of bars here in the center, it cannot take. So that's the story behind it. So, and white takes advantages of it. That's why like king just waits, and the pawn just promotes. So like king, let's check it another move. So king can, like, if king moves to somewhere, some squares other than this one or this 3 squares, then pawn just promotes. Like if it was in the e4, and previously it was here, so it was on d5 previously. So if it comes, like, let's check out about f3, then still the same story. The king cannot get. Yeah, so not good moves from king. So king cannot go here, so let's give the king a good square, like f5 square. Again, like king just comes towards the pawn, tries to support it. So the idea is very clear now, like 2 connected passed pawns can defend themselves against the lone king, isn't it? Yeah, so this is what I learned today. Like Connected pass pawns are really dangerous for white. So let's change the position now. We just got it that at some point they'll just promote to the queen, because the king is trapped in this square. So if the black king is like cannot control these squares, then there's no way for a black king to survive. So we got some knowledge about this position. I mean, I got some knowledge. Okay, so okay, let's switch the positions here. Clear board. So let's take some another pawn. Like, let's not take connected or connected pass pawns. So like let let's take two separate pass pawns. Okay. So one is on e5 and one is on h5, and still here white king is very far away from the position and black king is like very close to the pass pawns. So not like in the in the previous example that they are coming down. So that was my mistake. So they are going in front to the eighth rank. Okay. So let's study this position. So I'm just studying today. How can these pawns promote with the king just in front of it? So what do you think, guys? Can they promote to the queen? So here the rule says that a king and two pawns on the fifth rank, two files apart, versus a lone king is an easy win for the pawns. So the book says the rules are rules. So let's just try it out. Can they become the queen? So black's is a goner, the book says, like after king d5. I think we just misplaced the pawns here. No, they're like, it's okay. Another rule is like the result of king and two pawns on the same rank, two files apart versus lone king, easily depends on whether or not the stronger side king can sacrifice one of his pawns, using the time gained to bring his king into the game and create a winning king and pawn versus king position. Okay, so we had studied. Okay, now this. So first let's not study about these two files apart pass pawns, but let's decrease the size, because the two files apart comes in the next chapter, I mean. So let's first study the one files apart story, then we'll just go on after it. So this is okay. Let's first study the one file apart position first of all, and let's take this king very far over here in the other corner. So first let's study this position, then we'll come back to the earlier position with two files apart. The two pass pawns on the same rank but separated by one file have the ability to defend themselves from the attacks by the enemy king. When the king attacks one, push the other, and the attacked pawn suddenly becomes poison. So the rule says like this. Let's study. Let's check it out. If king attacks this pawn, and let's advance this pawn. So while it just takes, we'll be promoting the remaining pawn. So no problem at all to the one file apart pass pawn. Very easy. So let's check again. King is over here. Okay, so let's attack another pawn this time. So okay, now this time, because this square is, king cannot come through this square because they are just protected by, I mean, these pawns control it, isn't it? So king has only 2 squares left with it. So let's bring, we just check this position here. Now let's check this position. So what can happen if king goes the other side? So if king just attacks this pawn, then we'll just move this pawn ahead, and after this we'll go ahead, and after this, sorry, after this, trying to, we go more ahead, and here's the promotion. So it's quite easy now. One file apart, pass pawns can defend itself. So and the other becomes the poison. So okay, we just got it. Now let's come back to our 2 files apart pawns. So let's check this out. So how's gonna be if the pawns are 2 files apart? So let's bring this king a little bit closer this time, like to h1. So let's study this position. So how's it gonna be? Like, I think in my sixth sense, pawns will be promoted because 1 files apart, it became very easy for white, because now here it's 2 files apart, so king has to move 2 files apart to just grab the pawn, so the other might can run away. So that's my feeling now, but the rule says like 2 pass pawn on 6th rank, but separated by 1 file, can force the creation of a new queen even without help from the queen. So that was for the other one. So now let's check for this position. What the rule says is, while pawns 2 files apart give the defender some hope in certain positions. So I think this time black king has some kind of hope. The result of king and 2 pawns on the same rank, 2 files apart, versus a lone king usually depends on whether or not the stronger side can sacrifice one of his pawns, using the time gain to bring his king into the game and create a winning king and pawn versus king position. So that's the rule. So we have got, that's the rule. So the rule says that whether or not the stronger side can sacrifice one of his pawns, using the time gain to bring his king back into the game. Like, after this king attacks any of the pawns, by that time, if the king can just join the action, then there is a advantage for white. Otherwise, the game goes draw. So our rule says that. So this is the same position as the previous one. Let's see. So let's check this out. Okay, I just am very curious to know about the position. So what's the game goes. Okay, let's check it out. So king e5 is suggested here. So where is our initial position? Let's see. Okay, let's just check it like like the previous one. Let's just try it. If king goes this side, and then okay, this one and this one can be taken, and it's quite easy. I think the king cannot come and just tries to take it. So let's check another. If king goes okay, let's king goes over here. Then like if it comes here, let's try it out. So then takes, comes, goes, comes, and it can reach. So it is quite dangerous now for white. Yeah, the black can just reach to the target. So the rule says that king has to come and join the action. So that's it. So where were we were here, and the pawns were over here. So the story is quite interesting here. Like king has to come and join the party. Like okay, he has to sacrifice one of his pawns, and till then king has to join the party. Okay, now like this. And if king goes, then the key squares will be, these three are the key squares for this pawn. So the white king has to reach any of these squares to just win. So black king is like in the h5, and he will be aiming to reach there, reach this, any of this, like he just wants to just control these three squares. So main target will be for black is to go to g6. Then like which one, this one or this one? I think taking backside route will give the white king a little bit advantage, like which way it can go control these three square quicker. Now if it goes on the f4, then there will be like opposition, so it will be like difficult for white. So that's why I think white king must go over here. So if white king goes, then black king cannot come to f5 because it's like pawn is just guarding these two squares. So black king has to go over here. So then after that white attends the opposition. So I think this is like still draw, like king can go over here. Then after this, like this can come, and like this, then king goes this one and this one. So it's a kind of draw if it goes from the back side, so no any progress. So king came over here. So let's go from the front position. So it's still black attends opposition. So it is quite a little bit difficult to just white promoting into queen. Any other ways, like it's white's turn now, because white can't just go to any of these squares because black king is. So let's see, black to move and loses. I think like we just went for a wrong pawn sacrifice, because I think this pawn should have been sacrificed. So if it's black's turn, then black can go to king e5, And then the book shows like h5 is the good move here. h5 and king f6, king f6, h5 and king f6. f6 is like this one, like he's keeping an eye on both of the pawns. So it's king f6 and then king g2. King is slowly coming to join the party. So, and then king g5. So first he's attacking this pawn, and after taking it he's going to this square, like 1 2 3 4 and 1 2 3 4. So this is quite good for black. So here after king g5, like king f3 is the good move, so protecting this pawn. So after this, king h4, king takes on h5 and then king f4, and black king is quite late. So g6 going here, but this time controlling 3 squares is very important for white. So yeah, so main idea is like you need to bring back your king into the action, not just move your pawn ahead if there is 2 files apart between the 2 pawns. So after this it's quite easy for white, no matter where just black puts it, like okay this one, so this one, and no matter where it puts, like is go, if king goes here we'll go here, and if king goes here we'll go here, so no problem for white. So let's check over here, and king has to move away, so it's quite easy. Okay, so this is the way. Yeah, I just learned today that if 2 files are apart between 2 pawns, then you must bring the king to support one of the pawns, so then only white can promote to queen. So let's place our pawns like 3 files apart this time. How's gonna be the situation, I mean the result, like can just white just promote to queen, white pawns, like it's black to move and has to defend it. So let's count the squares first. 1 and it goes here, so 1 2 3 4 4 steps away from promoting to queen. So 1 2, by the time it will reach over here, okay, by the time king takes on this pawn it will reach over here, so another 2 steps, and 1 2, so the king is quite late in this time, so this is a very goner for like black. So let's see it, okay, practically if he tries to take this, okay, if not this one, like if it tries to keep an eye on both of the pawns, then let's move this pawn. So which one to take? Black, it's like very difficult for black. If it tries to take this one, then after 1 2 3 4, if it goes, then it can 1 2 3 4. So let's promote this pawn, and if it takes, then promote it. So black king is late, so this is a loss for black. So here we have the rules is, if the pawns are 3 or more files apart and not in yet on the 5th rank, The defender loses unless he can immediately capture one of the pawn. Okay, so this is the rule that I just didn't know. So I have to kind of memorize it. Like, the rule says that if the pawns are three or more files apart, okay, and they have not reached the fifth rank, and the defender loses unless he can immediately capture one of the pawns. So, like, if the king was over here, then it could have the black could have drawn. Like, in the next move, if it goes, then goes. Sorry, here and yeah, it can defend. So this rule is quite important. Like, if there are two files apart and king just cannot take one of the pawns on the next move, then it's loss for black, and if takes, then it's a draw for the game is draw. So this is quite important rule, I think. Yeah. So we just come to an end to just of this topic. So let's sum up our what till now we have learned. So it says like connected pawns always defend each other. So first case we just learned about connected pawns today. I mean, I just learned about connected pawns. Like, they always defend each other. That no matter the king is like close to them, the just past pawns just can go. They can defend each other no matter their king is very far away. So another second position, we just saw that pawns that are one file apart on any rank can usually defend themselves until the king arrives to shuttle one of them down the board. So that also we just I just learned that. So I'm learning like slowly, day by day, little by little. So let's just learn something new, something very interesting each day, and just we can just increase our chess knowledge. So third rule was like the defender has his best survival chances if the pawns are two files apart, and however if those pawns are on the fifth rank or further, then the game is resignable unless one of the pawns can be instantly captured. So this is also a very important rule. And the last rule was like pawns that are three files or more files apart on any rank are too much for the defending king to handle. So very essential chapters that I got knowledge about, and just it will be used in my future games, in the end games. So two connected and pass pawns versus a lone king almost always wins easily. And the only time connected pawns pose a problem is if one of them is a rook pawn. So so let's just see what happens if the pawns are like rook pawns or rook pawns and connected pawns, but this time the king is on the 8th rank and white king is still in the middle, and the black king is just defending the pawns to just promote. So let's check these positions. Quite interesting position. Like, if pawns try to promote it, then it's loss for white. It's a draw now. So pawns cannot be taken. So what else? What else? Like, it's black to move first. So black has no other ways, I think, to just go move on like b7 or the no squares, because this square is like controlled. So no other way, so black has to stay on b7. So, and what if like king is coming? If goes, then promotes, so can't go. Back also same story, can't go. Only places like staying on a8. So what about like king goes? Then it's a stalemate. No place for white king. Sorry, black king. Yeah. So this is pretty difficult position. So king can't go over here. Like c6 is very losing for white. So let's try this one, this route, this one, and like let's promote this time. Okay, let's promote this time. So if king has to take, our king will come over here. So sorry, like if king comes here, then I check, then like this one is a loss, because if it goes here, then it's a stalemate. So king cannot come there. So let's check once more. Sorry, black king. So I'm studying this position, like first this one. King stays, like black to move. Okay. 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 Black king just cannot come out of these two squares. Okay, this one. White king waits. And still over here, this one, and let's promote this time. Let's make it queen. And now this time, so it's a stalemate. So this position is draw. Like rook pawns are very very difficult to promote. So I just learned something from this position. So where have I gone? Like it's like too far away in the next chapter. So okay. So white still wins, but now he must turn points to slowing. Okay. Most stalemating tricks. He forces black to give opposition the position which in this situation. First blacking away from king takes a8, king c6. Okay, let's check this once again. Okay, our king was like over here and the pawn was over here. So after king 8 and king moves to F4, king goes like king goes to take the a8, and we just reach king c6. Now king b8. Now king b8, then we just put like b7, king b7. Okay, not that king b7 is possible, because how can king b7 is possible after king b8? Sorry, b8 is like after king takes 8, king c6, and then king b8. Sorry, it has not moved to a b7 but b8, and then b7, and our king had moved to c6. Like, then b8 is possible. Sorry, b7 is possible, and after b7, then there is like chances of white to win, because after this then there's a king. So this position can be win for white. Like, just again try, let's try again once again, over here and over here, and just king is over here. And so I think it's a win for white. So we have to reach c6 position. Brings up, brings up, brings up, and brings. That's like not good process. Like, after this, okay, so first black to move, king b7, king d5, king a8, king c5. Okay, waiting move here, king c5, king c5, and king b7, king b7, a8, like check, check, and king has to take it. So king has to take it, and just I think like another move is king 8, and king c6 is the most here. So after king c6, king b8, and after that then b7 is the winning move here. Like, so that's yeah, we just got promoted. So that's a nice move here, a kind of waiting move, and that's just takes the position and decising the win. So very important maneuver of the pawns. So in king and pawn in games, there are quite few tactical breaks, some pretty cool that one must be aware of, and we'll only look at a couple of basics and more. So okay, just we have come to the conclusion today about king and pawn in games, and connected pawns, and separated pawns with one files, two files, and three files. So we'll conclude to this much today, and we'll be bringing with the next chapter tomorrow about learning the end games. So yeah, thanks for watching, and just stay tuned for another chapter. Learn with me, and hope it will be helpful for you as well. Thank you. Bye bye.